Hey fam, welcome back to my channel. My name's Kristi. Thank you so much for clicking on today's video. Before we get into it, trigger warning, we're going to be talking about eating disorders. So if that's something that triggers you, just go ahead and click away now. And guess what I have today? I have some lovely orange juice as promised. And if you're wondering why I have orange juice with me, you will just have to go and watch the video that I posted last week. And I'm going to try to link that here. So we'll see if that ends up working. If not, it'll be in the description, or just go subscribe to my channel actually, and then you can watch it. And follow me on Instagram at Kristis_day. And I post stuff about my life there. So if that's something you're interested in, just go follow me, subscribe. All right, let's get into it.
Close but we're strangers, feel like we're far apart.
I feel like this was a bad choice in juice. Like, it might make my teeth yellow, but anyways, whatever. Who cares? Who cares? So this video might seem a little bit random, and to be fair, it is. It is a bit random. Like, what does dating around have to do with eating disorders, or how are those two things related in any way? Well, it's random, true, but I thought that this is a video that I would enjoy watching, and so, I don't know, hopefully you enjoy watching it as well. But let's get into this video, dating around with an eating disorder. For a quick backstory, I was in 2 serious relationships in college. My first serious relationship I got into when I was 18 years old, and I was in that relationship for probably, well, on and off for about a year and a half to 2 years. And I'll just say that was a very toxic relationship. It was not healthy at all. My second boyfriend, I started dating probably my junior year of college. And so I dated him my junior and senior years of college for about 2 years. And he is actually from Finland. And so it was a very long distant relationship, but we parted ways. I broke up with him last June or July, I want to say. So probably about 9 months ago. And I'm not throwing shade on him. He's a good guy, but it just didn't work out for us to be together. We had very different personalities, and there were a lot of red flags that I noticed. But again, like, I'm not throwing shade at him. He is a good guy. We just weren't meant to be together is basically what it comes down to. It is an interesting story how we met. So if you're ever interested in just having like a story time with Kristi, I can tell that story because it is a little bizarre, but that's just a side note. But after I broke up with my second boyfriend, we'll call him boyfriend 2. Because I obviously don't want to name names, but boyfriend 2, after I broke up with boyfriend 2, I kind of took a look at my life and realized that everything was changing. 2020 for me specifically was crazy. So I graduated university, I moved out of my parents' place and into my own apartment. I went to a treatment center for 30 days. I broke up with my longtime boyfriend, and I started questioning a lot of fundamental beliefs that I'd held since I was a child. So my views on politics and religion and just my worldview in general was completely changing. The first half of 2020 was really rough. My school shut down in March, and so I had to move back in with my parents. Then I graduated and I went to a treatment center, and then I moved out, and rather going to live with my parents again, I got my own apartment. Once I was on my own and once I broke up with boyfriend 2, things really started to improve, and I had both the mental and physical space that I needed to focus on myself, to focus on recovery, and I also had the space that I needed to figure things out, like things that I believed. And so the second half of 2020 actually got a lot better for me. But yeah, 2020, just crazy, crazy, crazy. It was crazy for everyone. Like, I realized that it was just the year of crazy. Long story short, after I broke up with boyfriend 2, I figured that I would continue with this year of change and try something new. So I did 2 things. Number 1, I joined a dating app, Bumble specifically. And number 2, I cut off my hair. So I used to have really long hair and I cut it short, which doesn't seem like a big deal, but it was for me because I was always like, oh my goodness, my hair, like, don't touch my hair. But I cut it off, and anyways, it was symbolic of all the changes that were happening in my life. But alas, I digress. I joined the dating app because I wanted to meet new people and I wanted to have new experiences. I wasn't really looking for a serious relationship. I was just interested in making new connections in a safe way. I will add that I was very cognizant of the precautions that were in place because of the virus, and so I was always very safe in that respect, just in case anyone's wondering. When I joined the dating app, I was a little bit apprehensive just because I knew that a big part of meeting new people on a dating app specifically, so going out on dates, I knew that that often involved going out to eat. And eating disorders are all about control, but when you go out to eat, you lose a significant amount of control in as much as you're not the one preparing the food, you have limited options to choose from, etc., etc., etc. So I was a little concerned that me going out on dates, potentially going out to eat with a number of different people, my eating disorder voice would go crazy. So I was a little concerned about that. I usually would suggest to my dates that we go grab coffee or we go for a walk in a public place. And I'll just note, by the way, if you are on a dating app, if you're going out meeting new people, just stay safe. Don't meet someone in a secluded location. Like, my recommendation would be to not just go on a hike with someone like in the middle of nowhere. If you're gonna meet up for a walk, make sure it's in a crowded place. Don't let them pick you up for your first date. Just protect yourself. Carry your pepper spray with you, whatever you need to do to make sure that you are safe. But again, I am digressing. So normally I would meet up with my dates for coffee. It was just kind of an easier thing to do than meeting up at a restaurant. It was also cheaper, and your girl does not like to spend money. I'm a very stingy person. So it was cheaper. It was really flexible. So if things were going well, you could talk for longer, or if things were not going well, it was really easy to just come up with an excuse and say, oh yeah, like I actually have to go get some more work done or whatever it is, rather than if you were at a sit down restaurant, it might be harder to leave. So I did usually go grab coffee with people on a first date, but it wasn't uncommon for, if things were going well, to have dinner after the coffee, or like the second and third date might be going out to lunch or to dinner. Even though this stressed me out, I made the conscious decision that I was going to ignore that voice in my head as much as possible and focus on the experience. I was going to focus on my connection with the people that I was meeting, and I was not going to worry. I was not going to let this voice in my head destroy my time. I was really focused on having positive experiences. Now, this wasn't foolproof. Like, there were times that I still got stressed out and I was still a little overwhelmed about the food I was eating, and going out to restaurants a few times a week. It still did stress me out, but I'm glad that I pushed through, and I'm glad that I didn't give into that voice. I'm so glad that I continued to have those experiences, and I'll just say, like, things got easier and easier as time went on. But while I was prepared for the stress of going out to eat, I was not prepared for how often the guys that I went out with would talk about losing weight or calories or just diets in general. Like, I was shocked, but I swear, like 9 out of 10 guys at least mentioned something to do with diet culture, weight loss, calorie counting, etc. It was so common. And I'll just say, I don't blame these guys. I was never open about my eating disorder. I never shared that with the people that I went out with, and that was my personal decision. I don't feel like I'm at that place, and it's a very private thing to me. So I know that if I had shared where I was coming from and my concerns and the fact that what they were saying was kind of triggering, I know that they would have been more sensitive. So I definitely don't blame the guys, but I was just a little taken aback when this was happening over and over and over. I met this one guy, we'll call him Date P, and great guy. He was a great guy, still is a great guy. And he was really into intermittent fasting and would tell me this, and would tell me how much he used to go running and how he used to be able to eat anything he wanted because he'd just burn off all the calories. But now that he, isn't running as much, he can't eat as much. It's fine. I can handle that. But the thing that really got me is one morning he was making me coffee, and he didn't put cream in his coffee because he didn't eat until, a certain time in the day because of the intermittent fasting. But he asked me if I wanted cream in my coffee, and then he was like, oh, cream has so many calories. Like, do you want to know how many calories are in cream? And I was like, no, I don't want to know how many calories are in the cream because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Anyways, that was one experience. Another time I went out with this guy, we'll call him Date E. Date E, also really great person. We actually went on this fun trip together, and one time we were eating at the Cheesecake Factory and we were sharing dishes. Like, we usually would go out to eat and like share the dishes, but this one time we ordered a dish at the Cheesecake Factory, and he's like, oh yeah, I used to get this dish, and then I looked up how many calories were in it, and he told me how many calories were in it, and I was like, frick, okay, why did you tell me that? Like, now I'm not gonna be able to eat it. I didn't say that, and I did eat it, by the way. Kudos to me. I was taken aback. I'm like, who does that? Who just goes around and is like, oh yeah, I looked up how many calories were in this, unless you have an eating disorder. I did that all the time because I was obsessed with calories. But anyways, so these little things things that happened were very triggering. Often, usually the way that I reacted when my dates would mention like food, weight loss, dieting, calories, anything like that, I would just say, you know what? It doesn't matter. It is all about balance. It doesn't matter if you're eating something that might have more calories in it if overall your focus is balance. So having balanced meals, balanced nutrition, and not depriving yourself of foods that you enjoy because they might not be traditionally healthy. Anyways, I did usually say a version of that. the whole balance. Balance is like legit my life motto now. It's all about balance in life and relationships and work. Anyways, I digress again. Back to date E. When we were on this trip, like I said, we were going out to eat about once a day. The rest of the time, like we would have food that we just bought from the grocery store. But when we went out to eat, because it was so frequent, I would get stressed when we'd go out to eat. I remember specifically there was one time we went out and I was close to tears. I just like went to the bathroom because I just needed to take a few deep breaths and calm down. And when I came back, we started talking, you know, me and date E, we started talking. And as I got engaged in the conversation, those eating disorder thoughts really kind of went to the background and I was able to focus on having a good conversation. So whenever I would get stressed at these restaurants that we would go to, I would just try my hardest to focus on the conversations and focus on the connection rather than focus on those thoughts. And that actually was really helpful for me. Another guy that I went out with, we'll call him Date J, was preparing for a half Ironman. I think it was a half Ironman. And he loved to tell me how much he was working out and how much weight he needed to lose. And I'm like, bro, what? You do not need to lose weight. But anyways, I have a lot more stories like this of people telling me their crazy like fad diets that they're trying or how much weight they want to lose and everything. I do have a lot of stories, but I'm not going to bore you. I'm not going to bore you any more than I already have. But whenever these things would come up, I just would focus on explaining my philosophy around balance. And I'm sure I drove everyone a little bit crazy because when anything like fitness, health, food related came up, I'd just be like, well, you know, it's about balance. It's about sustainable balance, you know, balance. And I'm sure everyone got tired of hearing that, but that's what worked for me personally. I never wanted to explain my story. Like I didn't feel it was the time nor the place, nor was I in the right headspace to do that, to share, to say something like, oh yeah, well, you know, I have an eating disorder, and when you say that, that's very triggering to me. That is totally appropriate, by the way. If that's what you feel like you need to share, more power to you. But that was just not what I felt like I needed to share. So my I guess my response was, you know, it's all about balance. It's all about having a healthy, sustainable balance. And I was telling that more to me than to the guys. Honestly, it was just a reminder for myself. Like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if we're eating something that's more calorically dense. Like, that's normal. It's all about balance. Oh, another thing that I have said is, yeah, I used to not have the greatest relationship with food and exercise. And so now I just focus on having a balanced, sustainable lifestyle. So again, the balance and sustainability part, but I have before, like once or twice, brought in the whole, yeah, I haven't always had the greatest relationship, but now I feel like I'm in a better place kind of thing. But at the end of the day, you have to do what works for you with any relationship. So not just dating around, but like with your family and friends and acquaintances, you have to be comfortable with a response, because the reality is you're going to hear this stuff, and it might be sharing a little bit of your story. It might be you needing to remove yourself from that situation, or it might be saying something like I say. You can do those things in a kind and respectful way. By the way, I have read articles in the past where people get really rude when they're contradicting or like counteracting diet culture and like diet talk. I don't think that's necessary personally. I don't feel like you have to be rude or mean about it, but I think there's a really respectful and yet firm way that you can maintain your personal boundaries and share your feelings. Anyways, here are the key takeaways from this kind of random video, but I feel like I have to summarize in the end my 3 key point takeaways so you have something of substance to gain from this video. So number 1, don't let your eating disorder keep you from experiencing life. That voice may be in the back of your head for a long time. Even as you go throughout the process of recovery, you might still hear that voice. Like, I'm on the journey of recovery, but I still hear that voice. But I do the best that I can to never let it affect me experiencing life and having positive experiences with friends or having new experiences that might scare me. So I have made that conscious decision to, even though the voice is there, to ignore it as much as I can and just do the thing that I want to do regardless. So go out to eat, go on trips, give up a little bit of that control, go focus on the love, joy, laughter, all the positive things in life, and leave that voice behind, even if just for a while. Number 2, if you're going out on dates, be safe, look out for yourself, carry pepper spray, don't meet with sketchy people in sketchy places. Okay, I'm just gonna leave it at that. Number 3 is speak your truth. There is an incredible amount of power that comes when you share your story, if you're ready for that. And if you're not ready, if you're like me and you need to speak your truth in a different way, that's fine. Just make sure that you're speaking your truth and doing what's best and right for you. If you have any other ways that you respond to diet talk, I'd love to hear those in the comments below. I hope you found this bit of a random video somewhat interesting. Maybe you can relate to some of it. That'd be really cool. If you enjoyed this video, great. Thank you so much for making it to the end. And if you want more content like this or content about eating disorders and eating disorder recovery, definitely subscribe to my channel and follow me on Instagram at Kristi's_day. And I will see you in the next video.